Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Comic Relief After Hours. This week I'm hosting, and I'm left here all alone. This is Dallas, and I'm here for my spoiler-free review of Avengers Infinity War. And the craziest shit happened. Are you guys ready for this? Archie got a hold of the symbiote, the right hand of doom, and he killed...
fucking Xerxes, dude, while Xerxes was fucking raping Barbarella.
And Heath Ledger died.
Was Kurt Cobain there too?
I plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth! Because
If
then
I-
a fucking...
Thanos demands my silence. I can't tell you if Kurt Cobain died or not.
Yeah, because then Alien and Predator showed up, dude, and they ganged up on Thanos and just fucking...
And Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole time.
Oh my god, not Patrick Swayze?
Well, Patrick Swayze was a ghost too.
Oh
but-
shit, you're
yeah.
right.
Bruce Willis inhabited the body of Patrick Swayze.
And they
Oh
both
my
were ghosts.
God.
Inside of a ghost, it was Ghostception.
They're not lying, guys.
And Unchained Melody played.
Yeah, and then the next thing I knew is Dr. Manhattan whipped out his big giant blue dick and
Because
just...
his big giant blue dick died.
and he mushroom stamped the shit out of Thanos, and that's how they won.
End of the movie. Roll credits.
You guys are welcome.
You don't have to see it now.
Yeah. We just trolled like everybody else on the fucking internet.
So the podcast is done now?
That's
We're
over.
done.
All right.
That was our spoiler-free review.
Bye, guys. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bell. Really, I do a ding for you every time I say it. Thank you.
All right,
Bell.
guys. But no, we really are here to bring you a spoiler-free review of Avengers Infinity War, the much-anticipated summer, quote-unquote, summer blockbuster of 2018. And I gotta say, what a wild fucking ride this movie was. Everything that we talked about in our pre-screening video that you guys can check out was the last video uploaded before this one. All my predictions were pretty much wrong. All the things that I wanted to happen didn't happen. And I still left with a giant smile on my face and a hole in my heart. What do you guys think?
This was one of the most beautiful, non-stop films I have ever seen in my life. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Forrest Gump.
That's all I got to say about that.
Justice League was better.
Leave. Bring Sean Connery back in.
Even
Fuck
the
Thanos, I like Steppenwolf.
even the DC fans like, no, fuck
Just
you,
leave.
dude.
It was like, fuck this dude.
I can't even joke about it. Is how he feels.
As
Not
you
even
guys-
in the same realm. Not even close.
As a person who has been a Thanos fan for a long time now, I was like, I'm right before the movie started, I was texting my girlfriend. I was being really comic book nerdy to her, and I was just like, I really hope that people understand and like Thanos as much as I do now. Like, I would love that.
Oh, I'm sure there's
And
definitely
then
a lot of
after
fanboys in
I'm like, and so she's just like, my girlfriend's like, I wish that he would say nice, sweet things about me like that. And I was just like,
Okay. Anyway, as a Thanos fan, do you feel, again, spoiler free, do you feel happy and satisfied with this portrayal of Thanos? Because it is a deviation from the original Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War version of Thanos.
I'm extremely happy with it. They do have to take, you gotta translate it well so it makes sense to film. But yes, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I'm not disappointed at all. I thought it was a great portrayal.
Okay.
Thanos. Everything I love about Thanos was right there.
Okay, Dallas, as somebody I assume is not as well versed in Thanos, how do you feel about the character?
I was extremely impressed, and honestly, I'm putting him... I think I've seen it one more time, but I think he may be my favorite MCU villain or one of my favorite comic book film villains. I'm not putting him at my favorite yet, but there's definitely a lot of relatable things about the character that bumps him up to my top.
Yeah, I know Dallas has seen it twice. Josh, you've only seen it once so far.
I've only seen it once so far.
Yeah, I've only seen it once so far, and I can say safely, as only one viewing, Thanos is easily the best MCU villain that we've had, and I think there is an argument to be made in contention for who's the better comic book villain, Heath Ledger's Joker or Josh Brolin's Thanos. I think that is a legitimate argument that you can make.
As a DC fanboy, I am actually completely open to hearing that argument, not a disagreeing. Like, I would honestly see both sides and value them equally, because he really delivers. He really does, Thanos.
Here's the thing. In The Dark Knight, Joker upstages Batman, and one of the first things that people talk about when it comes to The Dark Knight is Heath Ledger's Joker. That's almost always the first thing someone's going to jump to, right? And it was not Joker's movie. He did a great job, for sure. But it was still supposed to be about Batman. This movie is straight up a Thanos movie. Right. And you get to know this character. Yeah, he's been teased since Avengers 1, seen glimpses of him in Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Age of Ultron. We get a little behind our end credit scene. But this is the first time you really get to know and see Thanos. And this is about all you needed. You could have not seen any of the other things with him in it. And this is all you needed from Thanos. And I feel like you got to know this character, you got to understand his motivation, you got to see that this guy is not just some crazy, quote unquote mad titan. This guy is really he's a person. He's got dimension and depth to him, and he's not singular in his purpose in the sense that he's just doing this because he's an angry, just psychotic person. There's more to it. He's layered underneath. You find out that this character, he loves, he hurts, he feels joy. Like, you see all those things in this 2.5-hour film.
And that's always something with someone who's all-powerful or seems to be. When they deviate and it's just, I'm all-powerful, I have no emotion, I'm just going to kill everybody, they sometimes make for a decent villain. But the fact that there were so many layers to him, and like you said, every emotion, you actually saw different emotions from him. He was just excellent.
I thoroughly agree.
Okay. Thoroughly?
No. Like I'm like exactly what you said. That's how I've always felt, and then they bring that to the film. So people thinking that and seeing that's exactly what I was like texting my girlfriend. Like, I want them to understand why. Because if you was asked me like who, it's usually was always one of my tops, and it's mostly because of how. I don't know. Most villains are just angry people, and they're like psychotic, and that's the reason why I would put this as number one comic book villain in general. Because the one thing I like about it is the fact that like when you hear like why they are the way they are, right? So you can go like Heath Ledger's Joker was a great Joker, best villain ever. And it's like, yeah, he does a great performance of it. But at the same time, you'd go, nah, he's doing that for all the wrong reasons. Like this, without giving out any spoilers, like you kind of go, like when you hear Thanos talking, you kind of go, eh.
Dallas and I, we saw it with my buddy Shay, and hopefully he's on our spoiler talk here on that we're going to put up on Tuesday. But he brought up a point, and I completely agree. He's like, I kind of agree with Thanos' agenda. I can almost honestly want to side with him, which is, I completely agree. I'm like, you know what? I've felt this way about just Earth before. I can only imagine if you extrapolate that with trillions and billions or whatever, different star systems and planets, I could probably feel the same way. And one of the things I did want that we did in the last video was I wanted to know why the Black Order follows him. Why do they feel like they should almost servitude of Thanos? Why are they? And now I get it. If they share the same mindset, they share the same ideology as Thanos, I get why they're following him, and I get why they're the disciples or children of Thanos.
Exactly.
I think up to this point, the Vulture had been my favorite MCU villain just because he was so relatable. In his situation, I was like, I completely understand. I may actually do a similar thing was I in that situation. And Thanos is another. And I think the MCU in general, most of their villains haven't been too relatable for me. And I think this was another really, really strong contention for top just because, same thing, I agree with his ideology to a point.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what?
It's hard to dispute it.
Right.
I
don't think I could. And I'm not going to drop the quote, but there's a very good quote that explains his ideology. And
it's actually a great visual representation of it, too.
Oh, yeah. And when he drops this quote, at first I was like, I don't know that I agree with this. And when he said this line specifically, I was just like, he sold me. Yeah. I relate to this character. I completely understand his motives.
I don't know if it's the same line you're thinking of that I'm thinking of, but once he said it, I was like, yep, I'm right there with you, Thanos.
No snap pun there?
No, actually no. But, okay, so let's move on a little bit. So some of the critiques I'm seeing of this movie, of course, from the critics are that there's no time to develop the heroes that we've grown to love, right? And I think it's a really interesting thing to think about that no other film exists like Avengers Infinity War. This really is uncharted territory, and we've talked about it in the past, but this is uncharted territory for film critiques, for films in general, for movie-going audiences. No one's ever seen a movie like this because this is, by and large, or for all intents and purposes, this is Thanos' film. Right. The Russos even said it in interviews before the movie, but I kind of thought they were being a little hyperbolic, like, oh, it's Thanos' movie.
Right, hype it up a little bit.
Exactly.
Right.
No, they weren't lying. They did not throw us for a loop. But the thing is that this is Thanos' film, and so we're following Thanos as on his quest. And all of our heroes that we've come to know and love, we've had 18 movies with all of these characters. We've gotten to see them grow as characters, and we've seen their arcs develop. This is the Avengers being completely reactionary to the situation. Right. This is them, no time to really prepare, no time to go into like a UN or Sokovia Accord deliberations.
Yeah,
this is like
nothing.
Yeah, It's like we just have to act,
Right.
And that was the whole purpose of the Avengers. They have to act because Thanos is he's driving the film. He's not really the antagonist here. He's the protagonist, and he's the one who has a goal, while the Avengers are the obstacle.
And I think I would disagree with those critics that the heroes didn't get development. Not every one of them got development.
No.
But there were a few, and I was very pleased with some of them being some of my favorite characters that got character development in some of the dialogue.
Yeah.
Some people, by the beginning, say a specific line. By the end, they contradict that specific line they said earlier in the film.
Right.
And it shows that they have an arc to where they do mature and change and adapt to the situation at hand.
Yeah.
One thing I absolutely love, even with that, like even with the growth from the movie or whatever, when you watch all these characters and you watch them from the first movies and everything, if you get to when you get to this movie, you see how these characters have grown and changed a lot. And it's cool because they don't really mention, you don't really see some of it, you just know, and then by watching it, you kind of go, well, that's how that person would grow.
Right.
Like, that's the mind frame that person would be in, realistically, if they were growing like that.
Right. The previous films have already laid the groundwork that most films have to do inside of their runtime. Their groundwork's already been laid for them. We've had 3 Iron Man films, 3 Captain America films,
Exactly.
2 Avengers films, 2 Guardians films, 3 Thor films.
We're not even talking about any of the movies where they're crossing over.
Right.
I mean, you got Civil War, and that's pretty much almost close enough to be an Avenger film.
Right. So Marvel decided they were going to do their homework, lay the groundwork for these characters, so that by the time that Infinity War happens, we already know these characters, we've seen them develop, and now it's just they have to act and scramble together to defeat a bad guy. Now, if you do that in, say, your first team-up movie, Justice League, it's not as impactful because we haven't grown with these characters. But now that we've had 18 movies with all of them, and now Thanos comes, now your big bad Steppenwolf or your Darkseid comes, now it has tremendous impact on us as a film-going audience. If you've done your homework and you've watched all these movies up to this point, this movie really is the gratitude, the payoff, the Marvel throwing themselves a fireworks celebration.
Oh, yeah.
Because they did it. This is the movie that if you've seen all previous 18 films, you get to just sit back and watch the fireworks show. And inside of that fireworks show, I laughed, I almost cried, I felt tormented, I felt kind of torn between certain things going on. I was on an emotional roller coaster, and I didn't need the character, quote-unquote, development from my heroes that I've already gotten to know over the last decade.
Right. And I think you bring up a good point. This is a historic film, unprecedented.
Yeah.
And I think the thing the critics are failing to see, they're viewing it as a singular film. I haven't looked in the reviews, so I'm just trusting off what you're telling me you've read.
Yeah.
They're looking at it as a singular film.
Right, they're judging it by the basic 3-act structure of any typical movie, that every movie must hit this point, this point, and this point. This movie doesn't have that because this movie doesn't have to do that because this thing has never been done before.
Right. You can't grade it on a singular scale. You have to look and go, this character had development in blank movie, and here's where it shows, kind of like you were saying. You kind of watch the previous films, and you see the character development, little lines and little quotes and things they drop, and little acts that they do. You're like, wow, I really see where this character learned from this specific instance in this movie, in a previous film.
Yeah, and the other thing too is you don't really need those 3 acts in this one movie, because the whole movie, like all these movies together, are this one movie. Like, you got your act 1 with this movie, you got your act 2 with this. I mean, you kind of have to break away.
You're basically saying all 19 films can almost be considered a 3-act structure if you were to put them all together as one film.
Yeah.
Not,
I can honestly see that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be.
That's why it's your phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Exactly. Boom. That's exactly what that is, and that's pretty much exactly what I was trying to say. Is that you got your phases.
Stole his thunder. Wow.
Yeah, you stole my fucking.
Just call me Thor, and I am mighty.
Spoiler alert.
Oh God!
Fuck you! You're the god of hammers. You're not the god of thunder.
I'm the god of getting hammered.
The hammer jerked you off.
The hammer lifted you off.
The hammer pulled you off. No, but okay.
Sounds like you have an emotional connection with this hammer.
That's a nice way of putting it. Okay, so some of the other things are, did you guys feel, because it's a very crowded movie. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters. But I have to say, even though we were going from place to place to place, I never felt lost. I never felt like I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel like I couldn't follow the movie. And I think that with a movie like this, it's all up to your editor and the editing. Right. And it was edited so well that juggling all these characters, I never felt lost, and that's a true testament to the editing process in this movie, because it has to flow, it has to feel like the movie's is still going, that things are still being pushed forward, but I'm still getting enough time with some of these characters to understand exactly what's going on, what they're going to do, and where they're coming from. I feel like I got that. Did you guys ever feel like this movie was too like a breakneck pace, or it was too fast, it was too jumbled, you didn't understand what was going on, or did you feel like it was balanced?
I felt like it was pretty well balanced. There was a couple of times where I was kind of like going like, well, what's going on there? Like, I kind of want to jump back there, and like, it's been a while, you know? And since I found out what was going on and said, you know, part. And I got this reason why I'm not being so talkative this podcast is because I know I'm going to have a hard time not trying to say spoilers.
You're just going to drop him and be like, Spawn dies.
Spawn dies. Oh, God. Heath Ledger died, guys. Oh, God.
Back in 2008.
Oh, and I'm still coping with it.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, God. Okay. But, no, there's just been a couple of times where I'd sit there and I was kind of like, okay, so it's been a while since I've seen what was going on here. Can we go back, you know? But for the most part, it was like only like one time that I thought that, and then it cleared itself up almost immediately after I thought that. It was kind of weird.
See, I never really had that, but
I think I agree and I disagree. It wasn't so much that I got lost or anything. It was more I was so into this specific story that was happening right now, and then it cuts to start another story, and I was like, but I was so into that one, and I had to be patient.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm trying to say.
Patience.
as Captain America would say at the end of Homecoming.
But it really, the way I've been telling people that haven't seen it, they're like, what'd you think of it? The only thing I can say without spoiling anything is by far I think this is the best movie I've ever seen in terms of juggling a story. This movie had so many things happening, and films that have multiple structures and acts and different plots going on, there's so many times I catch myself going, oh shit, that's right, that's what that character was doing. At no point when they ever went back to someone did I go, oh, I forgot, blank character was doing this. Right. At no point. I jumped into it and I was like, yep, I know where you're at, keep going. Keep going.
Yep, and that's how I felt. There was only one time in the movie where I was kind of like, and this isn't a spoiler, I was just like, I kind of want to see what Cap's up to. See,
that's what I was saying. That's what I was doing.
But other than that, I never had that moment where I felt like, wait, what the fuck? Oh yeah,
right.
Last time I saw them, what were they doing? I knew it. I was like, I remember their A to B.
Right.
I'm like, okay, last time I saw them, they were doing this.
See, I don't chalk that up to the film. I chalk it up to like my anticipation to see the character.
Right.
So that's where I'm at with it. I have no complaints in terms of pacing. It was a very quick film, and it did fly by.
It
did.
It
did not feel like it was a 2.5 hour film.
And
there's a constant thrill
that's
ride.
What it was.
And actually, me and you were talking about it after the movie. We were sitting, getting drinks, having a couple of beers, talking about the movie, and I was talking about how I just forgot what the fuck I was gonna say. That sucks. I hate that. I really hate that. I don't know.
Well, guys got drunk, thinking about slobbing on each other's knobs. I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, and that's why he's forgetting. He's reliving that in his mind right now.
It was great.
Mind blowing.
I'll take it in terms of writing on characters without specifically speaking. We all know who's in the film for the most part.
Yeah.
And I will say, in this film versus Guardians Volume 2, I thought the writing was really lackluster for the Guardians. And in this film, I'm really praising them because they moved away from the immature humor.
Yeah.
I applaud them on their direction. It was more Guardians 1 and more mature added to it.
I know. Thank God I love toilet humor. Don't get me wrong.
Right, but it has a time and a place.
Yeah. I don't think there was any toilet humor that I can think of.
No. And it was excellent. Everybody, they were so true to the characters that they built. At no point did I think, wow, that writing for that character seems a little off right there. At that moment doesn't fit that character. Russo brothers nailed it. That's all I really have to say about the writing.
Yeah. And I gotta say, one thing that really carried this movie for me was just the character interactions. Some of the way some of the different groups kind of splintered off, and you got to see character interactions you hadn't seen before. To me, that really carries the movie.
Oh, yeah.
When there are things going on. Oh, what I was gonna say is I never felt like there was a time where it was too fast. Right, like the movie was going too quickly.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I actually got some time, especially in the first half of the movie, to kind of sit with these characters.
It was like reading a good comic book.
It was.
It really was.
It went by fast, but I mean, it didn't went by fast, but it went by like fast in the way where you're kind of like, oh man, already it's over.
Yeah,
like I kind of don't want it to be over yet.
This is definitely the most comic book come to life movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that is for sure.
I agree.
I know in my review and when we had talked about it, going back to Justice League, there were certain moments in it where I felt very comic booky, and I'd said that was the most comic booky in terms of editing and vibrance on screen. This movie, to me, absolutely blew it out. There were so many things I just saw, and I was like, Jesus, I would love to read a comic where this happens.
Right.
This this specific thing right
If
here.
you read more Marvel, you might see those.
Well, there's some of them that aren't.
I'm not trying to spoil,
Anyway.
but I'm telling you, there's moments where I was sitting there and I was like,
This
Yay.
feels exactly like a
I
comic
was like,
come to life.
yay.
Yeah.
Like, just as a comic book nerd, I'm just sitting there just like jerking off all over myself. Just like, oh my god.
But no, getting back to what I was saying is that I never felt like, because I hear a lot of people go, man, this movie goes by quick. There's so much happening, so much thrown at you. That's true. In a sense, it's true. But at the same time, like I said, in the first half of this movie, I felt like I got time to sit with these characters and kind of get to understand, okay, where are they at in their lives right now? What are they doing? Who are they hanging out with, and where are their lives at this moment? I never felt like it was just so goddamn quick. It's like,
Right.
get to the next thing. It was like, no, there were some times where I got to kind of sit, and I didn't feel like the movie lagged, but it gave me ample time to get to know the character and what they're doing at that time in their
Right.
life. And I really appreciated that, because it could have just been like, quick, let's go, until let's get to the final battle. But I feel like they took their time in leading up to the final battle.
They did. And in terms of going back to the critics and talking about, this is a Thanos movie, we don't get any, character development, I want to ask them what movie they were watching, because Thanos is very heavily in the film.
Right.
But he's separated into sections where you get, 10, 15 minutes of these characters doing something. Then we cut back to Thanos, then 10 to 15 minutes, and it was so well in between.
Yeah.
You got moments with almost damn near every single character. I'm sure if I watched it and wrote it down, each character would have a moment that stands out to me. Each character.
Absolutely. I mean, even characters like Mantis stand out to me,
Right.
at least for a minute or
Right.
two. And when they say that no one got character development, I can see when you're thinking of like kind of secondary characters who didn't get the
Yeah.
spotlight a whole lot, which is kind of okay because they've never really been main characters anyway. But there are certain characters that stick out to me that I go, they have definitely progressed from the beginning of this movie to the end. Where they're at here and where they're at by the end of the movie is very different. Like they went
yeah.
through an emotional character arc, and there are two that stand out to me. And I won't say who they are, but they have some. To me, there's actually between the two of them, there's this one very touching moment that I think doesn't get talked about enough. And I really hope we touch on it in the spoiler review. What about you guys? So okay. Let's keep going. Who was your favorite character interaction?
Character
God.
interaction.
Yes.
I was actually about to bring this up until you decided to, like, there's that moment of awkward silence. Which, did you guys know if there's a moment of awkward silence, somebody's thinking about Abraham Lincoln? Okay.
It's true. I completely
It's
thought,
true. I was thinking, like,
what would Abraham Lincoln do?
What would
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln be saying right now on this podcast?
I support Trump.
And he would
You know,
sound
'cause
like
he was a
Bill
Republican.
Clinton a little bit.
At least you shouldn't do Sean Connery.
I was actually about to say, one of my favorite things about the character interactions throughout this movie is they all don't like each other. Like, there's like these, like, I mean, they kind of get along, but it's like they know they have to for
Right.
the sake of this moment. But even then, they're still like kind of bickering back and forth. They don't really like each other. They don't really, it's not like they're like, oh, really? Your mom's name's Martha? My mom's name's Martha. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, that's actually something me and Dallas were talking about. I think it was earlier today, or no, I think it was maybe last time you were here. We were talking about how in the Avengers have always been like a family
Yep,
that bicker back and forth. As
Yeah.
a team, they've just always kind of bumped heads. There's a lot of conflicting egos, and I think that's one of the things that make the Avengers so interesting to read for me, is that, yeah, even though they're all on a team, there's a lot of big personalities that are bumping heads, and I think that is one of the things that makes them so great. You don't get as much of it in the Justice League, but I've seen in the past 10, 15 years, they do it more. But the Avengers have always been kind of notorious for, like, just this grinding of gears between each other. Like, yeah, we're working on a team and we've got the same ideals and the same goals, but we don't have to get along. And you do get a little bit of that, and especially it's in the first Avengers as well. So
Yeah.
But anyway, your favorite character interactions in
okay.
this movie.
I'm torn.
God.
I'm torn between two.
Okay, then say two of them, because I got two of them too.
Okay. Tony and Doc Strange.
That's one
of mine as
I
well.
love it.
That
and
was
then
one I was
Tony
not expecting.
Tony and Thanos.
Ooh.
I did not even think about that.
I didn't either.
I really, I mean, those are my two.
Damn, now you really-
Tony's like putting it up on. I'm just like Tony's interaction. Like, I used to go like, oh, I like Tony's interaction with Cap, or I like Tony's interaction, but like, no, these were great interactions. They felt very
I didn't
true
even
to the
think about
comic
it.
book.
I know,
and
I
it felt
didn't-
really good to watch.
I was thinking more Avengers, like hero characters together, but no. Tony and Thanos. Damn it, now there's a moment
All
I
right,
really want to talk
question.
about.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
I won't.
Don't.
Question.
Yeah.
With the interactions, can it be more than between two people?
Sure. I mean, I don't know, but I want there to be when you talk about it, I want there to be a dynamic. Like, I'll give you mine, for instance. I have two of them as well. Of course, Doctor Strange and Iron Man. I love their interactions together.
great.
It's so good because not only because everyone's like, oh, Doctor Strange is just Tony Stark, but he's like a surgeon version or like a magic version.
Surgeon version.
Surgeon version.
Surgeon version.
But no, you get to see when these two are on screen how actually qualitatively different they really are.
Different but similar at the same
They
time.
are, yeah, but they have very
but so different.
They are very
It's
different.
Great.
And then my
They're
other
both Sherlocks.
yeah, but then
I was
my
really hoping there was a no Sherlock scene.
anyways, my other one actually that I really loved was Rocket and Thor.
That was fun.
Those two have some of the best interactions of the whole movie, in my opinion, and
God damn it.
I really want to talk about it.
Now I want to sit here. I'm like trying to.
I'll stem off that because that's one of mine. I think the reason I like that one so much is because, again, kind of like Doctor Strange and Tony Stark, they're so similar yet different in their approaches or the way they speak, but they're very similar, at least in their
what I'm
motives
coming
and
from,
scenes.
like Iron Man, Doctor Strange, there's very surface level similarities.
Right.
Sure, like the facial hair
Right,
guys
right,
who are
right.
really cocky, but Thor and Rocket don't have obvious similarities. But now that you say it, yeah, they do have some similarities.
They're similar in terms of certain things, but they're also very conflicted characters.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them so similar is that they're conflicted in similar ways and their attitude. And
God
that's
damn
one
it!
of
There's
mine.
that.
I know.
Damn it,
I know.
man.
No,
Okay.
I've got that one, but my other one, I'm gonna leave the Tony Thanos off because I didn't think of it prior to, but that would be my number 3 then, because that was a
It was great.
very great moment.
Yeah.
But my other one, that's why I asked if you could have more than one or two characters, is actually Doctor Strange, Tony, and Peter Parker.
Yeah. When you throw
I mean, that
Peter
was
in the mix
fun,
with them, it is a lot of fun.
It added an
When you
immature
throw Peter
kinda,
in there, it gets fun.
yeah.
Let's be honest though, like Peter, like Spider-Man's interaction with like almost anybody, not just in this movie and other movies.
Yeah.
Spider-Man interacting with any of these characters is always fun.
It is.
I
and
think it's a character that makes it really fun to interact because he is young.
right,
And-
and that's the thing I
he's
like.
He's overzealous.
Right.
He's
He's a
very
fanboy in a
enthusiastic.
way,
Yeah.
and
And you have this certain dynamic between Doctor Strange and Tony, and then Peter was just kind of there, kind of lighthearted
He's just
in the situation.
observing,
Right.
too, yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm interacting with these two characters. Let me throw in a few funny jokes and comments that actually fit in the film.
Magic kick. I lost
Oh,
it. I'm not gonna
oh.
lie. I lost it. That was so good.
There were so many good lines.
I'm trying to like keep my mouth.
I know.
I know.
You guys keep
There's
mentioning
lots.
I know, I
things
wanna
and I'm
drop
like-
stuff, but I can't.
I'm having such a
You
hard
guys just want to go
time.
see it again right now?
Let's do it.
Kinda.
I
I'll just
know.
forget picking up my girlfriend and go see it.
Exactly. Like,
Forget
whoops,
her.
babe. Sorry.
Sorry, you come walk to the movie theater.
But okay, is there anything else you guys want to kind of make sure you touch on the spoiler-free review about this
Yes.
movie that you think people should know or hear going into the movie, or
Yes.
that you think after they come out that they should think about?
More going into the movie.
Okay.
I know at times, and I'm not just speaking on my behalf, I'm talking on reviewers and other reviews, the MCU tends to put humor in some situations where it doesn't apply. And that's at times, and I'm not knocking the direction or anything, it just happens that...
It's just part of the way
Right,
they do
it's
business.
part of the
yeah.
way. And I've seen several reviews for this that have said there's so much humor that negates from it. And at times in Thor Ragnarok, I did feel that way. Times some of the humor derailed me from it. But at no point did a humorous line drop and I was just taken out of it.
No.
The humor either was right where it should be or it shouldn't. And honestly, this is by far one of the darker MCU films.
Oh, I'd say it's the darkest MCU
Probably.
film, and that's where I was actually going to go with it. And the last things I want people to know is, yeah, you're going to have fun in this movie. You're going to laugh. You're going to be surprised by a
Right.
lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah.
But don't mistake any of the more lighthearted moments of this movie and think that this isn't a dark movie. This movie is truly fucked up in a way,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's the darkest MCU film to date. I don't care what you think about, oh, well, look at all the colors, it can't be dark. Fuck that. I can probably feel like suicidal if I wanted to in a fucking field of multicolored flowers.
Right.
The setting doesn't
The camera angles.
yeah, the camera angles and the camera filters and lenses and stuff, they don't make a movie dark. What's dark in a movie is the subject matter.
Right.
And the subject matter in this film is not funny. It's not a joke. And the way characters use humor in this, it's really to deflect on the dire situation that they found
Right.
themselves in.
Which is
So-
very humanistic. It just
Yeah.
shows that those individual characters and how they approach a stressful or impactful situation, whether they defer it with humor, they take it in stride very seriously. Like I said, this film is very true to each individual character they've set up in the MCU.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did anything that I felt was out of character for them.
No,
So.
no.
Josh, any last things you think that any listeners should think about in this movie before they go into it?
Okay, so I got one thing, okay? Don't hate on her too hard. There was no way for Jack to be up on that board
God.
with her. Jack had to fucking die, okay?
Yeah, there was no room. They couldn't. They
That's
couldn't
the only
distribute-
spoiler I'm giving you.
They couldn't distribute.
There's
the weight.
not. They
You're so
couldn't
right.
distribute the weight, okay?
Yeah.
That's all I wanted you all to know.
Also, I do want to. I want to commend the CGI on Thanos is
Oh my
fucking
god!
incredible.
You almost thought it was actually just Josh
There was
Brolin
never
painted.
a moment I was taken out of this movie. Go, that's fake.
Right?
Not on Thanos.
Right. Well, there were a few things, if I was being picky, in facial structure at times. But when the camera angle, not pun, I'm being serious, when you have the sunlight or a light behind him, you can see individual hairs on his arms.
Yeah.
You can like see the peach fuzz and stuff on him. Yeah, I mean, there's
Ridiculous.
great detail on this character.
Whether the film lacks in CG in other areas or not, I'll talk about it in the spoiler one. This was absolutely nailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
If you're
beautiful.
worried about Thanos looking anything like Steppenwolf, put those words to rest. No joke. I mean, we can all agree Steppenwolf CGI was bad, right?
At times it
no,
was
it
pretty
was
bad.
awful.
really bad. Okay, so I never had that with this. I never
Oh, no,
went,
I-
I'm looking at a video game character.
No.
No. I mean, sometimes I would forget that it was CG. Like I would think that
yeah.
it was really Josh Brolin, just
Well, you just get so into it.
Yeah.
like on stilts.
He's absolutely just
Painted
like
purple.
captivating. He commands your attention on that
Oh, by
screen,
far.
and I honestly didn't expect that very much. I
No.
was like, okay, yeah, it's Thanos. I'm sure I'll be interested, but I'm very interested to see what my heroes are doing once he's on screen. The first 30 seconds of that movie, you go, I'm all in. Like this
Right?
motherfucker's got
God.
me.
I
mean, and they set the tone for this guy in the first
Oh.
3 minutes of this movie.
Just that's the one thing. I'm not going to spoil anything, but just be ready. Okay, you think this is like going to be a movie where you can just sit there and then it's just like a gradual little start where you can just be like, okay, all right. It's
These are
like,
what- these are the
no.
characters.
This is like it starts off and it's like boom, it's
Yeah.
right in your fucking face.
And I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen Ragnarok, you're not going to understand the very beginning of this movie.
There's definitely some key Marvel movies you need to see. You could skip a few of them,
Right.
but
Okay.
there are so many references.
Let's do this. Let's end the podcast on what you think the most necessary 3 MCU films are going into this movie.
God, the most necessary 3.
Like
definitely
you,
Ragnarok.
you have to
Definitely
see
Ragnarok.
these 3 in order to view this movie and get a baseline understanding.
Okay.
Avengers,
Okay.
Ragnarok.
Okay.
God. Give me a minute. Go ahead, Josh.
This one's hard, man.
Okay, I would say Avengers,
Okay.
Agreed.
Ragnarok.
Agreed.
Oh man, I'm torn between 2 right now.
I'm torn between. Okay, so I've got those 2 as well, but I'm torn between Guardians and Civil War.
See, I was too. That's the other 2 because I feel like you don't know any of the basis until you've watched Guardians.
You know what's
But
funny,
at the same
though?
time, you also don't know some of the basis unless you watch Civil War.
None of us brought up Black Panther. I don't feel that's an absolutely necessary component
It's
the way
not.
I thought
I don't
it would
think
have been.
so either.
It's not.
I don't think so either.
But
I'm gonna say Guardians and Civil War as like the runner-up because
yeah, you
you
definitely
need to know who the Guardians are for this
Well,
movie.
I
Two of us
almost
tied up.
would put Guardians over Civil War just because the way they handle
Because he
the
hates Civil War.
No. I like Civil War. The references in it, they kind of explain themselves.
Right.
Whereas the Guardians, they're there, and you're just
right.
like, who are
If
these
you-
characters?
If you've never met these Guardians,
point.
then okay.
Right.
So
yeah, that makes sense because the Civil War, like they kind of, they hit on
Right.
anything that you would need to learn from it.
Right.
okay, so there you guys go. If you are kind of a noob to the MCU, the 3 movies you need to see are Avengers 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, and Thor Ragnarok. And if you've got the time, hit up Captain America Civil War for a more well-rounded scope. But guys, you have anything else to add before we go? And the next time we come here, we are just going full-fledged spoiler talk for 9 hours.
Go see this movie 20 times each. That way I win in the movie draft.
Yeah, there you go. Josh?
Fuck you, Dallas.
Spider-Man.
You
into the
white
Spider-Verse.
honky.
Fuck you.
All I'm gonna say.
Really, that's the way you're gonna go on? Not Wrinkle in Time?
No, that one's passed.
All I'm gonna
Oh,
say.
God, that's so bad.
$39 million Thursday, $105 million Friday, looking at breaking the all-time opening record weekend
Deserves
box
it.
office. So,
Deserves it.
way to go, Infinity War. I'm going to be seeing you at least one more time, hopefully 3 more times in theaters. And guys, we will see you guys again Tuesday when we do just all-out spoiler talk. Thanks for listening.